Hello everybody, Jared0987 here. Thought I would do a quick little video on letter frequency. It's not particularly useful for solving aristocrats and patristocrats because they're just too short. However, it is useful if you're learning how to write programs because it's a lot easier to write a program that does frequency counting than something more advanced. Like a dictionary attack or a hill climber or something like that. Yeah, so I thought I would just start out pretty simple. So I'm going to make the assumption that you already understand the letter frequency concept. If you don't, this video is not going to make any sense to you. There's a ton of information available about this available in the groups. So anyway, let's get started. How would I write a program to show me the letter frequency ranked in order? So what I would do is I would start off with a string of characters A through Z, capital letters. Some other people do it other ways, that's alright. And the next thing I would do is I would say get the ciphertext from the user. I'd print a message on the screen that says, input ciphertext and whatever. So the user would then enter the ciphertext when the program runs, and then what I would do is I would tell the program to iterate through every character in the ciphertext, and I would tell it, okay, if it's not a letter that's in my alphabet, then ignore it. If it is a letter that's in my alphabet, I want you to keep track of it. Add like a running total for each letter. Also, I want you to keep a running total of how many letters there are in general. Every time I find a letter, I increase the running total of how many letters I have. I also increase the running total of how many of that particular letter I have. So when I get all done, I'm going to have 27 different numbers. Well, I might have a little bit less. Every letter might not be in the ciphertext. So I would have theoretically one number count for each letter, which would have to be associated with that letter. The program has to know what letter it goes to. And then I would also have one for how many letters I had all together. And the reason I keep track of that is so that I can do this normalized frequency. What the heck is that? It means instead of telling me that E occurred 50 times, tell me that E occurred what percentage of the time. That means out of however many letters I have, what percentage of them was the letter E. Might be 1%. Okay? Now remember I said that letter frequencies, trying to use the letter frequency to figure out enough of the ciphertext in order to break the message with aristocrats and patristocrats, it's not really going to work. The reason is because those puzzles are so short and some of these letters are just so similar in frequency that it's just not going to be right. You're probably not going to get enough of them right to be able to start to see the words and to figure out what letters are wrong. You're probably not going to be able to. But if you had something as long as a paragraph or even longer, that's when this kind of attack starts to become useful. And you don't even have to worry if there's spaces or not. If you have, 2, 3, 4 paragraphs of normal, everyday language English, letter frequency starts to become useful. You might get enough letters where you can start to find out, okay, I can start to see some words now, but this one is spelled wrong. That means that these two letters are swapped around, vice versa. So the other thing we can do with this program is once we have all this data collected, we could say, okay, well, take my list of all the letters that are in this ciphertext and print them out in the order of which one happened the most often, which one happened the least often. Now the cipher letters would not be these letters, they'd be some other letter. They'd be the wrong letter. They'd be the screwed up ciphertext letter that we are trying to understand. And we could say, okay, well, make the, we assume that the most common one is the letter E, and then T for the next one, and A and O, and all the way down. Like I said, it's not really going to work with CRAT type of puzzles. It's just not going to work, but most of the time. But it might work for sections of the puzzle. Let me see if that didn't make a lot of sense. Suppose we ordered this in a different way, A, B, C, all the way through Z, and we didn't order it in order of frequency. We just ordered it by, A through Z. Sometimes when the person makes a key for one of these puzzles, they use a keyword, which I'm not going to get into in this video, but the key is basically a keyword, and then whatever letters were not used wind up in alphabetical order. They're just shifted, like a Caesar cipher. So if you find, a large section of the cipher alphabet that's in the correct alphabetical order, it's just shifted, you could slide it up and down with your program and try to find where it fits in. But that's a little bit different kind of program. I'm kind of getting off the beaten track here. So basically, just a quick recap. You would tell the program to take in the ciphertext. You would give the program a list of, a string of what characters are considered letters and any other ones it would ignore. You would have it tally up the total amount of those letters, plus also a tally for each individual letter. You could then make a list of, tell the computer to print out a list of all the letters that are in the puzzle in the order of which one comes the most often, which one comes the least often. And, it might be all kinds of nonsense, X, J, T, H, who knows. It would be the cipher letters. And then you could correlate that with this letter frequency chart, and you could try to make your best guess. For example, E is probably the most common letter. Letter T may or may not be the next most common letter, but probably it's either T or A, right? If it isn't one, you could try the other. And when you get down here to JXQZ, it probably doesn't even matter if you get those wrong, because it's probably only one or two letters in the whole message anyway, and if you got all the other ones right, you could easily switch those around. If you're looking at OINSHR versus CUMWFGYP down here, okay, these letters are kind of close together and they're probably going to be mixed up, but they're quite different from each other. I can pretty much assume that if a letter is down here in the frequency, it's not going to be a O or an I or N, and vice versa. So it's not, it's not as much fun as I would like it to be. But letter frequency data, you can write a simple program to show you what it is. And if you start to read some of the material on the DVD that's available for sale through the ACA, they spend a lot of time talking about the behavior of specific letters, especially the vowels, and to try to figure out, well, what frequency, if we say that A touches, what I say is next to a lot of high frequency letters, but it's also next to a lot of low frequency letters, well, that might make it a vowel, whereas a high frequency letter that almost never touches a low frequency letter is more likely to be a consonant. And they have these systems that they use to try to break the cipher that way based on statistics. So I think that's it for this video. Thank you for listening, and we're going to start getting into the more technical specifics of attacks that would actually break aristocrats next video. We'll probably start talking about dictionary attacks. That's my plan. So, thanks for listening. Have a nice day.